Hello, everyone. May I have confirmation that that you can hear me? Okay. Welcome, everyone, to this continuation of session 3, making data usage easier via SDMX. So this is the sort of second breakout room, where we will sort of continue to have exciting stories from countries on how they implement or are planning to implement SDMX to make their data more accessible and easier to consume for their users. We are excited in this breakout room to have 4 countries represented. We have Colombia, Portugal, India, and Malaysia. So we have very diverse and sort of global representation, as this conference also wants to achieve. Again, this will be the last sort of session of the day. I will remind you that next at the end of this session that the conference will continue tomorrow. With always at the same time, 9 a.m. Mexico time. So I will give a reminder at the end of the session. Without further ado, I would perhaps start with the first presentation. We are delighted to have Juan Guido. Juan Daniel is Chief Statistician of Colombia and Director General of DANE, the Statistics Office of Colombia, since August 2018. Juan Daniel has international professional experience in economic consulting for energy markets and national experience in government and teaching. He also holds a permanent academic position at Universidad del Rosario of Bogota since 2005. Without further ado, I would then give the floor to Juan Daniel for his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco, and welcome to my colleagues from Portugal, India, and Malaysia. We are very happy to share in this panel session what we could say that what are the main experiences and lessons of the implementation of the SDMX standard in Colombia, and probably to share some difficulties that we face during this important process, but at the same time to share with you some good practices about this very, very important standard of information exchange and interoperability. So I'm going to allow myself to share my screen, and I'm sure that Marco is going to be positive that you are seeing my screen right now. So in order to be respectful with the time, we have prepared with our team in Colombia this short message that tries to share with you the experience of Colombia in the implementation of the SDMX, more importantly, in the public sector. 3 main issues we would like to cover in this presentation. First of all, the context. The governmental context, we believe it's highly important in order to have, let's say, pillars and a very supportive framework in order to have the appropriation and use of these kind of standards of the information exchange and interoperability. And that's why we are going to show you which is the digital transformation framework in the Colombian government that we have fostered during 5 years, and that allows us to have a sound framework for the implementation of the SDMX standard. The second point that we would like to highlight in this presentation is which are the overall features of the integration model of the National Statistics Office as regards as information exchange and interoperability. And more specifically, we would like to highlight which is the framework of interoperability among the members of the National Statistics System of Colombia, which is composed not only by public entities, but also private entities which provide public services, for example, public utilities. And finally, which are the current projects of interoperability that we are implementing in our country. Regarding the first point, we believe that something that has been, let's say, a facilitating framework is the governmental approach of digital transformation and the interoperability and the standards for data exchange. In the case of Colombia, we have developed during the last year what we called the state interoperability platform, under which we foster and we provide the tools for public entities around all the levels of all governmental levels of Colombia to exchange information under a framework under which quality, security, and adequate use of information is a must. At the same time, Colombia has performed what we call enterprise architecture exercising, under which every public entity develops an enterprise architecture that allows to set which are the digital government priorities, and at the same time, how are we going to exchange information among public entities in order to make citizens' life easier as regards as the transactions that they have to perform with the public sector. Mainly, our framework or our integration model with institutions of the National Statistics System states that we have at the heart of this integration model, we have the statistical information, official statistics, which are mainly produced by the National Statistics Office of Colombia that you call DANE, under which we have the opportunity to share and at the same time enrich administrative records and to share the statistics that we produce through censuses and surveys as the traditional way. Provided that we have a secure exchange ecosystem that allows to make a very, let's say, neat transaction between producing entities, for example, information source systems, and consuming entities, for example, other public entities and final users in the Colombian public sector. Once we have these main features, we believe that the interoperability projects that we currently are producing are, first of all, something that has been tremendously important in the, let's say, governmental culture of reporting sustainable development goals indicators. That's why one of our main projects of implementations of the SDMX standard is how are we going to foster the use of this standard as regards as reporting of sustainable development goals. That's why we developed our data structure that was developed by the National Statistics Office, and this structure has allowed to share the main features of this data structure with several entities of the National Statistics System, which are responsible for reporting sustainable development goals indicators. This has implied a very supportive attitude with our partners in the National Statistics System, because we have to remember that in the public sector, in the case of Colombia, we still have many fears about implementing standardized ways of exchanging information, which are apart from the Excel spreadsheets and some other issues which are from the traditional public servant, the way we share information. That's why we wanted to highlight that the support from DANE, the National Statistics Office, to our partners in the National Statistics System has been very important in order to foster the implementation of the SDMX standard. We have the culture to have a yearly frequency data transmission by entities for the accomplishment of the, let's say, accountability of the indicators of the Sustainable Development Goals. And with this reporting, we receive the information at the National Statistics Office, and we start to see how we could make a culture of use and appropriation of the SDMX in the public sector, taking into account the compromise that we have of leaving no one behind the 2030 agenda. As you may see, we have trained and supported 17 entities in the national statistics system, and we have in 2021, a very special year, we have trained 6 additional entities in the use and implementation of this standard. As I was telling you before, this continuous support from the National Statistics Office to our partners with the National Statistics System has been tremendously important in order to destroy or to end up with fears and let's say comfort zones that we have in public entities as regards as the exchange of information with Excel or with some other formats. At the same time, we need to make it clear which is the importance of the standardization of the SDMX platform or standard, because we have multiple reporting formats, and this constitutes barriers in the implementations of open access tools, as it is the case of SDMX. At the same time, with these challenges, we have learned some lessons. The main important one is to have a common language, so to have defined structures. So the ESD is very important in the implementation of the SDMX, and something that we have developed for Colombia in the reporting of the Sustainable Development Goals. This is important to have, let's say, a collective action model under which public entities have an articulated work with entities that require support for the use and appropriation of the SDMX. And we need continuous long-term capacity building and knowledge development in order to increase the appropriation levels of the standards. As you might see, this is the main, let's say, a sketch of the Sustainable Development Goals data report, under which we have our SDGs Colombia PSD, which, as I was mentioning before, is very, very important in the way we understand, and we have a common perspective under which we collect information with this SDMX web service and email, and we start to put together all the information and initiate our consolidation phase in this SDG reporting, under which we produce the reports and we allow a dissemination of a web service, which is displayed for the United Nations consumption for the reporting and the global reporting of the Sustainable Development Goals. Some other platform or some other project that we have used as a matter of example of making clear the benefits of the SDMX standard is how we report data to the OECD. As you remember, since 2015, Colombia has initiated the process to be member of the OECD. Finally, last year, we are a full member of the OECD, and there we have a very, very rigorous approach of report of short-term statistics from the economic perspective. As you see, the CPI, the PPI, the construction licenses, and the manufacturing short-term indicators. And at the same time, we have some other set of indicators from the labor market, which is the intersectional statistics, gender, age, and economic activity of the main features of the labor market. And the reporting on a monthly, on quarterly, and yearly basis of the national accounts information that we produce with the standard of the System of National Accounts 2008. And this has allowed the National Statistics Office to fine-tune our capabilities of understanding, of approaching the SDMX as a way to share the experience that we gain in the reporting of these OECD indicators with our partners in the National Statistics System. And we are starting to create the culture of use and appropriation of the SDMX in several common projects that we have inside the National Statistics System of Colombia. The first one is we have a very important differential approach of economic development based of creative and cultural economy, something that the IDB call orange economy. And this implies that we have to put together information from interdisciplinary sectors of the economy, the manufacturing sector from the, let's say, technology perspective, the services sector, the insurance part of the creative and cultural economy. And we have to grasp together this information. And that's why we have started to implement the SDMX as a language or as a common language or common perspectives to exchange information, to have a whole system approach, whole of a system approach of an indicator system linked to creative and cultural economy. Another project that we have is how are we going to get together the statistical information of education, science, and technology. And this is a project that we've been developing during the last year and a half, under which we have structured the indicators in the areas of education, science, and technology, provided the reference framework from UNESCO. And at the same time, we are starting to get the culture of exchanging information to nourish and to improve the quality of this integrated information system with the data exchange and interoperability approach supported by SDMX. And that's why, together with these specific projects that we have, let's say, a hands-on perspective, we also are developing capacity building with our partners of the National Statistics System. In the second half of 2021, we had a workshop on the SDMX standard, and we tried to share the experiences with the Asian community countries and the Latin American and African countries. And we have, as an outcome, a pilot project with participating countries for SDG reporting through SDMX in the global database. And this is going to be very important for us because this capacity building, we do not only want to put it into service to our national partners, but also to enrich the international statistical community with the capacity building and the experiences that we've been developing and performing and improving during these last years of making data usage easier via SDMX. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Juan. I think this was a sort of an excellent way to start this session. I really appreciated sort of the journey that you sort of show to us, from implementation to dissemination and including capacity building. I think it's an excellent experience that you're sharing with us also, that you are also training not only your local entities, but also other countries in the region and also in other continents. So I would, if you agree, Juan, I'm sure there will be a lot of sort of questions. I have questions, but I would perhaps use the Q&A session at the end of this session to have more questions from the audience. Please use the Q&A feature here in Zoom, so you can ask your question, and so we will perhaps address them to Juan Daniel at the end of the session after the 3 presentations. So before moving to the next presentation, let me apologize because I didn't introduce myself actually, because I've been too involved perhaps with the organization of this conference. My name is Marco Marini, and I'm from the IMF Statistics Department. I'm actually the chair of the organizing committee for this conference, and just want to make sure that I was I introduced myself to the attendees in this session. So with that, I would then perhaps move to the next speaker. We now have the experience of Banco de Portugal. We have Philippa Neves Oliveira. She works in the Statistical Dissemination Unit of the Bank of Portugal. Philippa's main interests are on statistical and computational tools to explore and analyze large volumes of data. And today she will talk about practical use of SDMX ML at the Bank of Portugal. So Philippa, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, everyone from Portugal. It is a pleasure to be here, and today we are going to share with you an application from the Statistics Department of Banco de Portugal that makes our lives much easier when you need to reporting statistical information in XMX format to international organizations. So regarding the agenda, I will make a context of our application, the one that allows us to successfully reporting in XMX format in the main objectives. I will also present you an overview of the processes framed by the application, highlighting its features as well as the usability of the application, and finally, what you want to improve in the future. Therefore, the construction of this application was planned in 2012. The requirements and the design were defined in 2013. And in 2014, this application, called Report de Informação Estatística, RIE in Portuguese, was created with the aim of standardizing the exchange of information statistics between the various international organizations, such as ECB, Eurostat, IMF, with the future use of the XDMX format. The RIE is an information system that aims to centralize and standardize all statistical information and metadata associated with the several statistical domains, as well as the use of the XDMX format in the available information structures. Another component of the RIE is related to the statistical calendar. In this application, we have available a centralized calendar with all statistical reports, not only reports in XMX format, but others, reports inside Banco de Portugal, reports sent to national entities, international organizations, and so on, and which works as a reminder through some alerts and notifications that we'll see next in more detail. And why RIE? For 5 reasons. Firstly, the fact that the application is accessible and very intuitive for the users, without them knowing what the XMS format is. It also a secure information system, which gives us security for the reporting of confidential data, and which is used only by internal users. And another point is the flexibility in creating and changing profiles. One of the great advantages is also the use of automatic communication channels that directly send data to international organizations, allowing users to use only one interface to carry out the total report. And finally, the centralized calendar that I told you about earlier. Regarding the application functionalities and processes, we highlight the reporting calendar to guarantee the mandatory reporting of Banco de Portugal to international organizations through the characterization of the data to be reported, which is the statistical domain, that is the DST, the frequency, the reporting date, the associated time series, and so on, and the annual generations of calendar events. All reporting dates are defined in RIE at the end of the year for the following full year. The functionality of data dissemination to characterize, depending on the reporting domain, the XML file structure to be produced and the respective statistical time series. Automatic process for reporting data to external entities that use communication channels, for example, XDI for the ECB. The statistical information browsing to consult the status of the different sets of data that were reported. And we also have different types and permissions to access to RIE contents or models according to the statistical domain. And the last one, the functionality to generate some notifications based on the calendar events in the RIE. Features 1 and 6 are interconnected and play an important role in the reporting information on the agreed dates, as based on the reporting rules, users receive some emails notifications when they have not yet integrated the information into RIE, notifications that the information is missing, as well as notifications that the information has been integrated even though the event has not yet completed. Here in this slide, we can see the layout of the RIE application, a very simple and easily accessible interface that is composed of several models, a model for uploading data, for accessing the calendar or consulting the integrated data. In back office, we can confirm that reports were completed on the scheduled dates. In the configuration model, we have access to this new page that allows us to view some features or create profiles and assign accesses, manage time series to create new time series or change existing time series, define notifications, the statistical domains, and the statistical reports themselves. In RIE, we have two distinct profiles, two distinct user profiles, the system administrators and the business areas. And the features and contents that the system administrators have access to are different from the permissions of the business areas. System administrators are responsible for creating and updating new DSDs, new reporting structures, without requiring the interventions of the business areas. This application was also implemented in a way that allows the addition of new communication channels without significant impacts. The business areas, on the other hand, load the time series to report, create the sessions, which are a set of time series, and the report itself, where they associate a statistical domain, a data flow, communication channel, and so on. It is also the business areas that annually generates calendar events, and each event has a report and a session associated. Finally, the business area submits the report. In this slide, we can see that RIE operating system works as an abstractions layer between the statistics reported and the statistics producers, since the business areas use text files, for example, CSV, for the integration of data, while the file that is sent to external entities, it is in XML format. So the business areas extract the text files from the own production system and upload the data files in RIE. Here, mention that we already have one automatic internal channel that loads data from the areas production system to the output, directly to the output in XMX. Currently, we only have one channel, but we want to expand. We know this is the way. After data validation and approval, the file is immediately sent to external entities in XML format due to some automatic communication channels, as we saw earlier. The business areas only need to check the communication status of the event in the back office model, and in the case of the ECB, a data acknowledgement is returned, and any change in message reception formats, as occurred this year during the SPACE project, is easily accommodated in our application. So the RIE is constantly evolving. Regarding the improvements in the future, we intend to add more automated internal channels, since the production system themselves send the information to the RIE. The business areas only need to approve and validate the data. Implement more automatic channels for other external entities, that is, extend the reports in XMS format to other entities, namely the OECD and the World Bank, and create an internal registry at Banco de Portugal without the need to download DSTs from the global registry, for example, and then integrate them into RIE as is happened today. And to conclude, RIE is a secure information system that allows the reporting of statistical information in a centralized way, in the standard format that is XDMX, and in a practical, accessible, and very intuitive way for the users, the business areas, through some process and automatic communication channels. And in fact, as a user who has been working with the XMS format for less than 2 years, I feel from the beginning that the RIE makes sending data via XDMX much easier, as the theme of this section, and allow us to hide some of the complexity of the XDMX format from our users. On my side, we are available to share our experience, and if you are interested, please feel free to contact us. Thank you.
Thank you, Philippa, for this excellent presentation. I'm sure there will be sort of questions on how RIE sort of connects with sort of other tools that we saw in this conference, like DotStat and sort of other types of SDMX sort of enabled platforms. So perhaps maybe this could simulate some questions for you in the Q&A, but it's definitely an example of interoperability, right? The way you disseminate and share this data, for example, with the ECB, that of course requires this data in SDMX format. So again, thank you very much, Philippa. We'll perhaps have some questions for you in the Q&A. Again, please use the Q&A feature for any question for Philippa. We are right, I think, on time. So with that, I would then move on to our third presentation. Our third presentation will be made by Ms. Rashmi Sharma, which who I hope is in the call. Yes, I see her. So Ms. Rashmi is a joint director in the Data Informatics and Innovation Division of the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation of India. Ms. Sharma has designed and developed a number of software solutions, including implementation of SDMX for the national accounts. She also provided training on data management issues to several countries with the United Nations. And today, Rashmi will exactly talk about SDMX implementation in national accounts at the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation in India. Ms. Rashmi, the floor is yours. Ms. Rashmi, you should also unmute yourself. I think you are still on mute. We see your presentation. Yes.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. So today, I am presenting the SDMX implementation for the national accounts for data dissemination, how to disseminate the data in our ministry, and SDMX in the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation India, the use cases of SDMX and the SDMX tools, and the user experience and the challenges. So mandate of the National Statistical Office of MOSPI, it acts as the nodal agency for planning integrated development of the statistical system in the country. And it includes the laying down and maintenance of norms and standards. It includes the statistical methodology and statistical analysis of data, and also the statistical products like national accounts, index of industrial production, consumer price index, survey reports, etc. Dissemination of statistical information to stakeholders, including as per the request to UNSD, UNESCAPE, IMF, ILO, etc. So for disseminating the data, we are using the IHSN toolkit integrated household survey network. So the micro data catalog developed by DIID of Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So it includes the data documentation initiative. This is a standard that uses the XML to produce structured micro data documentation using this toolkit. So by using the IHSN, the users can find the summary statistics, small statistics like minimum, max, mean, standard deviation. And beside that, a user can download the data in different formats like SAS, Stata, SPSS, the text file. And this microdata catalog application, this is available on the microdata.gov.in on this website. So our vision of MOSPI is the strengthen the India's national statistical system and provide real-time inputs for policy and stronger dissemination practices for public. For this, we are under the process of developing the National Integrated Information Platform. So the NIIP is it's a single platform or one place, centralized place where all the data from different statistical domains will be stored, and the data in the form of the data warehouse, where we develop the data cubes, data marts, and the data is disseminated by using the in different statistical form, maps, charts, data explorer, and we can download the data in different formats. So transforming the India into a data-based information ecosystem, we are under the process. For that, the solution is the digitization of the data. We are using the IT technology. We use the SAS Informatica in the NIIP, where we reducing the duplication of the work, and it's a real-time data we are getting from the NIIP. So the target is the data-driven policy, and it is useful for the researchers and the planners. SDMX in our ministry is we are implemented in the national accounts for the quarterly aggregates for national accounts as a pilot project, which is to be extended it for other sectors like the national accounts annual data, national summary data page, and CPI. So we have developed working on the SDMX project under the MOU. Eurostat offered this assistance as a pilot project for national accounts. So we have initiated for the quarterly aggregates. Further, it is extended to the NSDP page. So we use the SDMX tools, the SDMX converter, SDMX RI, which includes the mapping assistant, test client, the web service, web client, and SAE editor for the metadata too. The use cases is the GDP estimates we are generating in the Excel file or CSV file, which is compatible to the SDMX data structures. And we are using the database the SQL Server database, testing the SDMX data by using the test client SDMX tool, and the various queries is generated to validate the data in the test client. Visualization tool, we use the web service on the web client. And finally, we are getting the SDMX data, and that data we are uploading on the ministry website. The National Statistical Office conducts large-scale sample surveys on routine as per the requirements. The surveys generate large-scale data related to various socioeconomic phenomena. Until SDMX platform is extended to data of socioeconomic surveys, the objective behind envisaging SDMX platform would remain unfulfilled. So today, the availability of the data is no longer an issue, but to getting a reliable source of the data is and to reproducible and usable format is a tedious task. So SDMX is itself address the usability by being one of the most efficient way to exchange the cross-domain data. So various international agencies and research organizations, researchers have been using the SDMX format by accessing it from Mosbi website. And they are demanding for the other sectors also. So the challenges we faced is first is the awareness. SDMX being the new domain, the people are not much aware about the importance or the implementation of the SDMX in the statistical domain. The capacity building is the regular trainings of the officials is required to understand the SDMX concept. Another challenge is the shifting of officials. So sometimes the person who is working on the SDMX and he is transferred to the other department. So that is another challenge we faced. The major challenges we faced in the functional mapping of the parameters as per the coding system of the SDMX, that is the DSD, which is provided by the SDMX committee. So significant efforts are being made to address the same. The future enhancements, we want to expand the domain of the SDMX to be at par with the other developed nations. Expand the SDMX on socioeconomic surveys, regular trainings for capacity building, integration with all government agencies that produce and use the statistical indicators, and it expedite the metadata creation for various statistical domains, and enhance the current statistical content by adding more statistical indicators from different statistical sectors. So we use the SDMX converter tool to convert the data from the Excel file or CSV file to the SDMX format. So the SDMX converter is a tool which converts the data between different data sets from XML, from Excel to SDMX or SDMX ML to CSV. And another tool we use the SDMX RI, SDMX reference infrastructure. That is the database map suite. So for that, we use the SQL Server database at the backend and use the mapping assistant tool to map the DSD of national accounts with the data stored in the database. So for that, we use this architecture. The data is generated in the CSV format by the National Account Division, and we have the data dictionary. So I am showing here DSD Ecofin. DSD Ecofin is used for the national summary data page. So it is under the process. So by using the dictionary and the input file, we convert the data into the SDMX format. So this is a glimpse of the SDMX converter tool, where we give the input file in the CSV and get the SDMX output by using the dictionary Another approach is the SDMX RI, where we use the quarterly estimates and the national account mean data structure definition, DSDs, and using the SDMX RI infrastructure, we are converting the quarterly estimates into SDMX file. And this SDMX file we upload on the ministry website. So in SDMX RI, we use the DSD and the mapping assistant tool. So in the mapping assistant tool, we are map the data dictionary, the data structures with the database which is available in the SQL Server database. And after mapping, we are using the test client software to test the data, and we use the web service, and after that we are exploring the data by using the test client. So this is the database structure. This is a glimpse of the mapping assistant tool, where we have created the concepts, the data flows for the national accounts, and we are mapped the data. This is the data set and this is the data dictionary. So we mapped all the concepts by using the mapping assistant, and then view the map data by using the mapping assistant. So this is the data which is coming from the mapping assistant. Another tool we use the test client. So here we use again the data flow is the national accounts. We can generate different types of queries here. Whatever be the data we want, we create the data flow, or we can generate the SQL queries here and get the data. We can preview the data here, and after that we can generate the data in SDMX format. So this is the output in the test result, test client. We use the web service provided by the Eurostat. This is the web service, NSI eStat V20 service. And this is the data explorer tool or visualization tool to explore the data. So this is the data flow, and we can view the results, or we can give some criteria on the concept which we want here, like frequency is the quarterly, and if there are another type of the values are available, that will be shown here. So when we view the results, all the data will be viewed by using the visualization tool. And from the visualization tool also, we can export the data in Excel, HTML, or SDMX format. So this is the SDMX output file which we generated. So thank you very much. And for, before thank you, there are another in future we want to expand it another more statistical domains like CPI or National Assembly data page. And for that, we require the capacity building trainings to all our officers. So thank you very much.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you very much, Rashmi, for this very interesting presentation about sort of the, the extremely sort of huge amount of work that you do in your organization on SDMX. We're definitely interested in that. And I see some questions in the chat, but again, as I said, let's perhaps move on with the program, and maybe we'll, I'll ask you, Rashmi, to stay a little bit longer in the call. I know that it's very late for you. It's I guess it's midnight there in India, right? So yeah, be just a few minutes more with us, and I'm going to actually move to the next speaker. I think is going to be even more like east. We are moving like expeditiously to by time zone here. So the next presentation is from Malaysia, and it is from the Department of Statistics of Malaysia by Ms. Jamalaya Jafar and Siti Sawani Ismail, who I think are both in the call. The presentation will be delivered by Jamalaya. Jamalaya is a senior statistician in the Data Management and the Integration Division of the Department of Statistics of Malaysia. She's responsible for developing, maintaining, and coordinating the database for the economic and social and demographic sectors. And today, Jamalaya will guide us through the first step towards the adoption of SDMX in Malaysia. So I guess, this will be also important for, to connect, the experience perhaps from Colombia and India, sort of who show sort of quite advanced progress to see perhaps, how this experience can be helpful for Malaysia. We're moving again, first steps towards SDMX implementation. So Jamalaya, I believe it's very early hours of the day for you. Are you connected? I cannot see you and I cannot hear you. Now I can see you, yes. Please, the floor is yours. You can share your screen when you're ready. Okay, we can see your presentation. If you put this presentation in full screen. Perfect. Okay. And I think we can also hear you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My presentation today is titled Malaysia First Step Towards the Adoption of Statistical Data and Metadata Exchange Initiative. My presentation outline is as follows. I will first talk about overview of DOSM, followed by statistical process, the first step in SDMX adoption, challenges, and finally way forward. Overview of DOSM. DOSM was established in 1949 under the Statistics Act 1949 and was known as the Bureau of Statistics. At that time, the statistics produced was limited to external trade and agriculture. In 1965, the Bureau of Statistics changed its name to the Department of Statistics Malaysia under the Prime Minister Department of Malaysia. From here, DOSM function and role has expanded, whereby the data collected had included the economy and social areas. In 2018, the Department of Statistics Malaysia was placed under the Ministry of Economic Affairs as part of nation economic reformation. However, beginning 10 March 2020, the Department of Statistics Malaysia is once again placed under the purview of Minister in the Prime Minister Department Economy and continue to be entrusted with the responsibility to collect, interpret, and disseminate statistics in the monitoring of national economic performance and social development. This is overview of DOSM organization chart. DOSM is led by the Chief Statistician Malaysia with 2 Deputy Chief Statisticians. DOSM DOSM has 18 divisions, 14 state office, and 28 operation office. In producing official statistics, DOSM produce statistics from the finding of census and surveys, and as well as data gathered from statistical compilation, administrative data, and big data. Administrative data are gathered from various agencies and ministries, which can be categorized as government agencies, statutory bodies, and agencies from the private sector. To enable national statistical system to respond to the demands of data, diverse data stakeholders are involved through the main user committee, interagency planning group, interagency technical group, and steering committees based on the specific statistical field. DOSM has taken numerous initiatives in data communication to keep the users' trust in official statistics. Our data users are from the policymakers, international bodies, users with general interest, as well as scientific community. DOSM has also signed 35 MOU with various agencies in data sharing initiatives. For this purpose, we also provide proper metadata as reference to ensure that users will be able to find data, use data, preserve, and reuse the data in future. Statistical production process through DOSM Data Warehouse. Statistic Data Warehouse, StatDW, is an enterprise data warehouse containing historical data from various census and surveys conducted by Department of Statistics Malaysia, as well as compiled data starting with economic indicators and now has expanded to all statistics, including social indicators. StatDW enables fast and easy access to data and facilitate wider access for users according to user requirement and level of access permit. StatDW is the first initiative by DOSM to consolidate and integrate all the statistical data in one enterprise data warehouse. The current statistical production process of StatDW includes data integration, data management, and data dissemination. There were 7 modules developed for data dissemination in the StatDW Phase 1 with the purpose to enable fast and easy access to the data stored in StatDW to internal and external users. These modules are e-data bank, location intelligence, visualization, analytics, MyLab, and mobile apps. This is StatDW Phase 2 Business Architecture. StatDW Phase 2 is a national scale initiative by DOSM to consolidate and integrate all statistical data process in a centralized and secure ecosystem. This process includes the integration of data, management of data, and dissemination of data on a single platform. StatDW Intelligent Ecosystem is the framework that comprises of 3 modules, namely Smart Data Partnership, SDP, Smart Data Lake Management, SDLM, Smart Data Communication, SDC. One of the sub-modules in Smart Data Lake Management, SDLM, is the metadata management. Through this module, DOSM is toward applying the SDMX template in metadata management process. This is StatDW Phase 2 System Data Flow Diagram, which comprises of 3 main modules that will be explained further in the next slide. Here we can see that beside 3 main modules, we have another module which is management module. We can also see that what are the processes involved in each module. In Smart Data Partnership, there are data record management, data integration management, and sub-management module for SDP. In SDLM, we have metadata management, repository management, active data management, alert management, and monitoring dashboard. In SDC, we have various modules developed for data dissemination. And last but not least, this data warehouse is also equipped with network security, system security, and data security. What are the detailed process in the SDP module? In data record management, the following activities are performed: dataset registration, approval of dataset, determination of level for data dissemination. In data exchange management, data will be reviewed and verification process will be performed. In data gateway management, data integration will be done between StatDW DOSM and other agency systems. In Smart Data Lake Management, SDLM, we have metadata management, repository management, and active data management. In metadata management, metadata input will be keyed in by subject matter division. In repository management, all data set that is uploaded by subject matter division will be stored in repository management. And in active data management, data hub will be created based on user requests. In Smart Data Communication, SDC, there are Insightful BI, Mobile Discovery, Virtual MyLab, and also Intelligent Data Launch. Insightful BI provides table builder facility which enable users to create table, graphic, and map of the data, as well as pre-developed dashboard. Mobile Discovery provides statistical information in an interactive graphical form through mobile device. Virtual MyLab provides a data request facility where, upon approval, users are able to access the requested data set for ad hoc analysis, and users are also able to download the output. Intelligent Data Launch is for handling data requests in which users are required to come to DOSM premise. Users are bound to the procedures of the use of Intelligent Data Launch determined by DOSM. Usage of Intelligent Data Launch is monitored, and only output without confidential information can be released from IDL or Intelligent Data Launch. How SDMX process supporting statistical activities in StatDW. SDMX will provide a meta model for describing data in StatDW Phase 2 that aims at standardizing and modernizing the mechanism and process for the exchange of statistical data and metadata among other agencies. It also standardizes the format, structures, and coding of data and metadata, as well as data exchange process. As a result, it will facilitate data exchange and consolidation of data from multiple sources. SDMX supports many statistical activities and processes in StatDW, include data collection that include data registration, data retrieval and data validation, data reporting and data mapping, data dissemination through data discovery, data query, and data portal, structural metadata repository for metadata management, reference metadata reporting and dissemination, and linking metadata to data points. Challenges. Introduction of comprehensive statistics requires cooperation and readiness of the entire ecosystem of the national statistical system. Coordination among government and non-government agencies in producing official statistics and standard metadata structure remain as big challenges for us. Among the challenges we face are on the standardization of data and metadata format, data inconsistency and incomplete metadata, legal constraint as some information are confidential, and limitation of technology capabilities. SDMX will support statistics as collected and used by governmental and international statistical organizations. Thus, through the proper adoption of SDMX in the StatDW, DOSM aims to facilitate data and metadata exchange, make efficient use of technologies and standards, reduce reporting burden, and enhance availability of statistical data and metadata for the users. The demand for the statistics and information for evidence-based policy has significantly increased. Considering the overflow of data from various sources, the increasing request for complex and granular data, the dynamic technology revolution, and uncertainties in global situation, the government of Malaysia has agreed to strengthen the national statistical system as continuous modernization and innovation efforts toward effective statistical service delivery. Thus, the Malaysia government has agreed for a new initiative to enhance DOSM role as national official statistic producer in 5 years. Among the agendas are as shown in the slide. As a way forward, we aim to foster the dissemination of statistics produced by DOSM, including the documentation or metadata for statistics to adhere with SDMX standard. We will first develop homogeneous SDMX structures in StatDW metadata management as first step for SDMX standard adoption. Second, to establish guidelines with respect to adoption process of the SDMX standard. Third, to adopt dissemination standard for statistical information released by DOSM based on SDMX standard. And most importantly, to build and strengthen the capacities of DOSM personnel on the use of the SDMX standard. With that, I end my presentation. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Malaya. This was a nice overview, nice and comprehensive overview of what's going on, sort of SDMX in Malaysia. I mean, I think these are not for me sort of first steps. I mean, I think it's already sort of underway. So it's definitely like nice to see sort of this development. So we have just a few minutes left. I think we are at sort of 30. We have sort of 5 minutes for Q&A. Hopefully, maybe we can have like a few more minutes. Before I see some questions in the chat. Maybe I'll ask Jamalaya, could you please remove your share screen? Just a reminder, I want to ask my colleague Haris if she could include in the chat details about sort of participating in the SDMX survey. This is a survey that we always run during global conferences, and it's a way sort of to understand developments and progress in organization using SDMX. So please, make sure that your organizations are counted, and we will make a presentation on Thursday on sort of the results of this survey. So this is very, very timely. So I'm reading now from the chat. There are 3 questions, and I will start from perhaps a question from Steve Drew, who has a general question for our presenters. I think it's very relevant. So he's asking that, he's saying that it's clear to practitioner that using SDMX is a sensible way forward. And the question is, how did each institute get the high-level support within their offices to take this work forward? And perhaps I want to expand a little bit. This question is, how do you get the high-level support from other agencies in the national statistical system that work with you? I mean, I remember when Daniel said, for example, in Colombia, that that there's a lot of resistance, or at least fear about exchanging data or moving from Excel to SDMX. So how do you convince again other agencies also, not only stakeholders in your own agency, but other agencies to participate and use SDMX? So I don't know who wants to answer this question.
Is that okay, Marco, if I go ahead?
Yes.
I believe that the core of the national statistics system is very helpful as regards us getting people involved about exchanging information. And when you start to see that it could be cumbersome because of the topics that you are covering, for example, we were mentioning that we learned a lot from the SDG reporting, but currently in the national statistics system, we are grasping together information, are getting together information for creative and cultural economy and for the science, technology, and education sector. So you start to see, for example, in the science and education sector, you start to see enormous databases, of, let's say, 16 million children which are studying in the basic primary and secondary school. So when you start to see these kind of issues, and when you try to get in some synthetic indicators, and you try to see a way in order to have a lean way of exchanging information, people start to see the benefits of the SDMX. At the same time, I would believe that the clear definition of the data structure definition that we performed in Colombia was very helpful in order to make clear the message, make clear the uses, but at the same time, to make it easier as regards the support or the accompaniment that we have to perform with the national statistics system. So I think that the hands-on perspective of the project has been very helpful in order to get people convinced about the usefulness of the SDMX standard. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Daniela. Also I like also the reference to the specific DSD, right, as a way to sort of convince your stakeholders that it's a good cause, right? Because I guess if the DSD doesn't help, if it's too general and it's not like it's not specific to the problems that you want to solve, I think the argument about convincing others to join SDMX is more difficult and more challenging. I think that's definitely well taken. Is there any other experience from other speakers on these? Well, if not, let me ask. There's a specific question that Neil Austriaco asked for Rashmi. And I think it's about whether, in the case of India, you are converting only national accounts data in SDMX, or if there are sort of other domains.
So in other domains, it is under pipeline, the national summary data page, and for the national accounts, the annual data. So these two are in the pipeline.
Okay, the national accounts annual data sort of are in the pipeline.
Yes.
Okay, thanks for, and how about sort of, so it's still restricted to the national accounts data, not to other sort of statistical domains like, you know, balance of payments or other sort of.
So that comes under the national summary data page. So we are trying to map the codes, which is not available in the dictionary. So that's why it hurdles.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure that my colleagues in the IMF will sort of follow up perhaps with you on sort of that specific issue. And there is another question from Dana here, from Luis Romero, who wants to ask representatives of India and Portugal, how many people works in the SDMX standard within the organization, and which roles they have. Perhaps we can start with you, Rashmi.
In our, we have 4 to 5 people working. 2 from the IT side and the 4 are the statisticians. So the role is the statisticians, they prepare the data set, and for the IT, they convert the data set into the SDMX format.
Okay. That's definitely a good number, but it's also a commitment, of course, for the organization. I mean, that means that sort of SDMX requires certainly resources to be trained and to be sort of involved in the work. Philippa, I see you have your screen on.
Yeah, and in Portugal, in my team, in the statistical dissemination unit, we are about 3 system administrators who manage the RIE and work on the XDMS standard. For example, profile configuration, integration of new DXDs, but all the business areas must know their business report requirements, because we have a lot of people working on the XDMS standard. For more technical questions or more detailed specifications, we work with the IT department. So the team, it's bigger.
Yeah, of course, when it comes to being, on the technicalities, the IT department, of course, are usually sort of more involved than the sort of statisticians and data officers. That's true. Is there any other questions, curiosities, even between speakers? I'll wait a few more seconds. Then I don't see.
In the case of Colombia, we are also 4 people. In the case of Colombia, we have also 4 people dedicated from the SDMX. So it's a short human resource, but as you were mentioning, Marco, the DSD is the key. The clearness of the data structure definition is very useful to make it easier. So we have somebody from the Sustainable Development Goals area. We have some IT staff, 2 members, and we have another human resource, which is another member of the staff, which is part of the team. So we are also 4, and this is important to highlight that is the platform, and these are the tools, which is important. So if we make it clear to our partners, it is going to be very easy to apprehend and to understand and to appropriate in the way we publish and exchange final information, outputs of the statistical information we produce.
Thank you, and also for sharing your experience. I mean, it's a combination of sort of skills and resources that are needed, right, to eventually sort of be successful with SDMX. You need the statisticians that sort of design the DSD. You need of course the business analysts. You need the IT experts. So of course it's an effort that requires resources, but eventually the benefits these efforts, definitely outweigh sort of the cost, as you rightly pointed out in your presentation, and also the other speakers. There is one maybe last question. Any suggested time for completion of implementation? I don't know if this is referred to anyone. There's a question on implementation of SDMX, but I'm not sure if this question refers to any specific speaker. So I would, because we are sort of late already, I would perhaps close this session, and by doing so, I would like to thank, of course, all the speakers for their time and for sharing with us experience in their organization. I think this was very excellent and very well received. And I also would like to thank, of course, all the attendees for staying with us until now. I also would like to remind that the conference doesn't finish here. We will have 2 more days. Tomorrow we will start again at 9 a.m. Mexico City time. So please connect with the sort of Zoom link that has been provided. It's always the same. And not this one. This was the link for the breakout room 2, which will be used in the next days, but the main room will be sort of with the other link provided in the agenda. With that, I again thank you very much, and we'll see you soon, hopefully, and good luck with everyone sort of implementing SDMX.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Marco. Goodbye.
Thank you, everybody.